When we were taking our yearly family portrait, my brother looked at me and asked, "Is there anyone who could remove him from the picture?" Because of him, the entire f***kiking look is ruined. The only thing my father did was say, "Yeah, take him out." He didn't even glance around. It is not necessary for us to include him in this family photo. There were no objections raised. No one even bothered to glance at me. "You'll come to regret this sooner than you think, I told you," and then I departed. A year later, I committed an act that caused the family to become divorced. They are now calling at regular intervals. Voicemails, messages, and pleading are all examples. "Could you please return? No matter what you want, we will do it. Simply consult with us." I never thought I would write something like this, but after what occurred during my family's annual picture day, I just need to get everything out and see if I'm genuinely overreacting or if this was as messed up as I believe it was. Alright, so I don't even post here. I never thought I'd write something like this. I don't know, maybe I just need someone to convince me that I'm not going crazy. In all seriousness, this is about as far from a movie as you can possibly imagine it being. Although it is only my life, I will proceed. Every year, my family takes a massive photo, which is similar to a large-scale family photograph that is staged, with everyone wearing the same colors and smiling in a forced manner. You are aware of the flow. She is the one who initiated it, but she is not really involved anymore. She just kind of watches from her seat in the living room now. My grandmother is the one who initiated it. Instead of saying anything, she just gives you that look that suggests she is sick of everyone's drama anyway. She is not the sort to say much. It's the same routine every single time. It is approximately noon when people begin to show here, and there is a peculiar pressure in the air that nobody talks about, but you can feel it. Someone is going to make a comment on some things, such as if your clothing isn't ironed or if you bring up the wrong item. Presentation is extremely important to my family, as evidenced by the fact that we publish the ideal photo on Instagram and act as if we belong together. Everyone's group chats, on the other hand, present a different story. With the shirt that my mother had instructed me to wear, I show up. Navy, because it is a color that looks excellent in photo. And while I'm doing it, my brother Philip gives me this strange look. Without a doubt, he has always been the golden boy. In each and every photograph, he is positioned exactly in the middle. The rest of the people grouped themselves about him as if he were some kind of sun. I am not even exaggerating when I say that it all begins with him making this stupid joke about how I still haven't figured out how to dress myself at the age of almost 30. Philip, the classic, is always the one who needs to have the final say. I choose to disregard him. In any case, it makes no sense. My father is getting irritated because the atmosphere isn't quite perfect, and he is adjusting the lighting or perhaps something else. And the mother is just standing there, smiling way too broadly as if she were trying out for a commercial appearance. To begin, the fact that nobody is talking to me is the first strange thing. For example, when I walk in, I receive a few nods, but there is no genuine greeting, it's just this awkward shuffle. My cousins are all on their phones, and my aunts are in the kitchen behaving as if they are busy. It simply doesn't feel right, like if I were a visitor who happened to stroll in by accident. To be honest, I was always aware that I wasn't their favorite, but this was something else entirely. There is a backyard, fake grass, folding chairs, and everything else that we need to set up outside. They are having a disagreement on where the dog should be placed so that it does not detract from the overall beauty. And all I can do is stand there and watch it all, thinking to myself how strange it is that everyone is so worried out about a photo that nobody even looks at after the post has received something like 200 likes. Philip is already irritated, and he continues looking at his phone as if he has other things to do, but he refuses to go because he requires the attention. Once everything is said and done, the photographer, who is a family friend and is not even excellent but simply cheap, tells everyone to get in place. As I normally do, I am standing at the end of the line, and Philip looks at me and asks me, "Can someone get him out of the shot?" He says it out loud, without even attempting to whisper it. He completely destroys the integrity of the entire G appearance. While I am thinking that he is joking, I can't help but laugh, but he simply looks at me. Rather than even turning around, my father simply responds, "Yes, you should take him out." It is not necessary for us to include him in this family photo. And here's the thing, nobody fights back against it. No single individual. She does nothing but stare at the ground. As he steps over, Jerry gives a shrug. Not even Granny is able to break her silence. Until someone laughs or says, "Okay, that's enough," I just stand there and wait for them to say something. They simply do not do it. To tell you the truth, I probably stood there for a little bit. I was just hoping that it was just a little bit or anything. I can feel the heat rising on my face, and I simply want to know whether you are serious right now. Then Philip simply responds, "Yeah, I'm serious. Are you able to move?" After that, he really tries to force me out of the picture by placing his hand on my shoulder and walking away from me. I give him a shove back, not too hard, but enough that he stumbles, and he becomes angry and begins ranting about how I'm making a scene and how I always do this. Every time my father intervenes, he tells me to stop behaving like a child. He says that I was never good at being a part of the family, and he adds that everything is always about me. Just at that moment, I lose my cool. Even I am not sure what it is that I stated. "You'll come to regret this sooner than you think," or something along those lines. And I leave the room. The gate is slammed shut behind me. If they heard it, it didn't even matter to them. As a result of the fact that nobody followed me out, I was ejected from a family photo that I had taken myself. I was sitting in my car for a bit, just kind of scrolling through nothing, trying to figure out if I should just go back in and act like nothing had occurred, but the truth is that I was done. Through the glass, I was able to see them all gathered together, laughing at something that Philip had said. It seemed as though I was the joke, and everyone else was in on it, the exception being me. The thing is, this is not something that is brand new. Since the beginning, Philip has always acted as if I were some kind of a nuisance, as if it would be better for the family if I simply disappeared. He has always been and will continue to be Dad's favorite. I was the kid who refused to participate in the sporting activity, who did not put on a fake smile for Facebook, and who objected to the double standards that were being applied. My mother is constantly vacillating between showing that she is attempting to maintain peace and acting as if nothing is wrong. It's possible that they simply determined that I didn't fit the picture since I never played the part that they wanted me to play. I literally went, did not say goodbye, and did not check my phone for the remainder of the night. The following day, my mother sent me a number of SMS that simply said, "I hope you're okay." Both Dad and Philip have not responded. I was totally absent from the family group chat. It wasn't even subtle, I was just absent. Didn't get tagged in the photo when they posted it. In any case, I was not involved in it. Observed a few responses from family and friends who inquired about my whereabouts. Not a single person responded. There are some individuals who are going to tell me that I should just cut them off and go on, but the situation is not as straightforward as that. It is not for the purpose of obtaining their approval. It's just that I don't know. The point is that they should not be allowed to act as if they can treat me in this manner and still get away with it. They want to make me invisible, as if I never counted, but I'm not going to lie down and let that happen any longer, so I've devised a strategy to deal with it. This time, I'm not going to just take it easy and not do anything about it. It's great if they want to force me out of the house, but they are not going to enjoy what happens after that. I'm not going to go into too much detail just now, but let's just say that they are all a great deal more reliant on me than they are aware of. Moreover, I am finished being polite. For the time being, that is all. I want to express my gratitude to anyone who has really read this far. This is something that I am not going to let go of, but I will keep you updated if anything happens. Did they want a picture of the perfect family? It's cool. It would be interesting to observe how things turn out when I am not around to keep everything in order. Most recent update 1. In such case, yes. This is the follow-up that I promised I would post. It's been a little bit crazy in here. Certainly not in a movie-like manner. Rather, it seems as though everything is off right now. I was hoping that things would calm down and that everyone would just ignore me as they often do, but that didn't happen. It's almost as if the family has discovered a new way to engage in passive aggression. Should you have missed my initial article, I would like to explain that my brother Philip and my father removed me from the family photo because they felt that I was destroying the aesthetic. Everyone else simply turned a blind eye to it. I simply left, warned them they would come to regret it, and then I walked out of the room. The first strange thing that occurred was the manner in which everyone pretended as if nothing had occurred. Not a single word came from my father's side. There was also no communication from Philip. One of those texts that simply asks, "Are you okay?" was sent to me by my mother. Also, an emoji of a heart. To my satisfaction, I responded, but she never followed up. I did not participate in the family group chat. Like, it's over. The chat notice was just deleted, and not even a "Hey Lorenzo" can be seen there. I was only able to see it when my cousin Faith responded to a meme in its entirety, but I was unable to see it. When I asked her about it, she just responded, "Oh, I thought you had left." Old school. I began to feel excluded from every single thing that was going on. The barbecue at Uncle Jerry's, the birthday party for my cousin, and even the casual get-togethers that are typically mentioned in the group chat. My initial reaction was, whatever, maybe they're just giving me some mental space. However, I later discovered that they had attended Selena's art event in the downtown area, and they were all smiling. However, nobody had thought to tag me or invite me to go. Each and every photograph included Philip in the foreground. Although he is in the background, Dad acts as if he is the head of the household. Although I should have been able to anticipate it, it nevertheless came as a bit of a surprise to me. The fact that everyone seemed to adjust so quickly to my absence was the thing that really got to me. The last time I saw my Aunt Bridget, she was at the grocery store, and she didn't even bother to say hello, she just grabbed her things and left. When my mother started giving me these strange brief messages, it seemed as though she was afraid that someone would see us. At one point, I attempted to call her, but she answered the phone, said she was busy, and then hung up. I called once more, and this time I went to the voicemail. 1 hour later, she sent me a text message, saying, "I'm sorry, I'm just busy." To answer your question, yes, I did get the hint. To tell you the truth, this is how the family has always really been. Since the beginning, Philip has been the most popular. He does the sports thing, he posts the appropriate content, and he is a hard worker all the way through. It seems as though Dad has always been concerned about how we appear to other people, as if the entire family image issue is his major undertaking. Always the one to say things that he didn't want to hear or that just didn't fit the brand, I was the one saying them. I am aware that this irritates him. To be honest, I believe that Philip simply enjoys having someone to vent to, someone to blame when he makes a mistake or when he does not get his way. Due to the fact that he is the way he is, I am no longer even angry about it. This is where things start to get a little bit funny. To put it another way, my family is very attached to their tiny traditions, but they are also quite attached to their money. It is true that there is a family fund there. Although it is not very large, it is a trust that was established by my grandmother for the purpose of covering significant expenses, such as family vacations and other similar activities. Because Granny did not have faith in anyone else to keep track of things, I am the one who manages it. It is not as if I have the ability to spend it on myself, but I have the last say in what is distributed. It is necessary for me to provide my approval for someone to utilize it for a trip or for any other purpose. Before now, I had never really given it any thought. In the past, it was nothing more than a chore, but today it seems to be the only time I contact them on the fund. Following the photo incident, I suddenly began receiving emails from my father, all of which were business-related, requesting me to provide my approval for a particular expense that was associated with their annual trip. After that, Philip begins texting, appearing as if nothing had happened, and he simply poses the question, "Hey bro, would you be able to look at the request for the house rental this summer?" Without further ado, let's get down to business straight away. I paid him no attention. For the first time in weeks, my mother phones me the next day and asks if I could lend a hand with this particular task. She was instructed to send it to me via email. After a moment of silence, she hung up the phone. I looked at the requests for funding, and it's not a joke. They're asking for a lot more than they normally would, like twice as much. I believe that they simply believed that I would do the same thing as previously. Thus, I made the decision to take my time. I responded to the email with a request for all of the receipts and expenses, as that was exactly what my grandmother had instructed me to do in the event that things ever became strange. In response, Dad wrote a paragraph about the importance of maintaining family trust and avoiding difficulties. My response was a fund regulation, which I just copied and pasted. That did not sit well with Philip. When I answered the phone, he began ranting at me, saying that I was being petty and that I was ruining things for everyone. I told him that he might compose a letter if he desired to communicate with me. After that, he hung up. In case you were asking, yes, I am aware that this is beginning to sound immature, but for the record, they brought it upon themselves. Now, after all those years of being the man they shoved to the side, the backup guy, they finally need me for something, and I'm not in the mood to play along with them. I began to be quite stringent with regard to the rules, demanding every receipt and every explanation without exception. Don't have any more faith in us. I sent it back to them if they failed to pay attention to a certain detail. Without a doubt, it was driving them absolutely insane. However, the fallout was not limited to monetary matters alone. My father's friend who plays golf started questioning why the family wasn't going on the long vacation for the 4th of July this year. My aunt sent me a message asking if I could just give my approval so that everyone may move on with their lives. I assured her that it was beyond of my control. I was obstructed by her. Something was going on, and even my grandmother saw it. When she called, she simply sighed and muttered, "They are making a mess, aren't they?" The call was only made once. I responded with a yes, and she just stated that it is always the case. It was the very first time that she had ever taken even a very slight stance in my favor. Over the course of one day, Philip unexpectedly showed up at my residence. After letting himself in, he still had a key from the last time, which I returned to him. When he started chatting quickly, it seemed as though he was trying to persuade me to just give in if he pretended that we were close. He stated that I was being overly dramatic and making the situation about me. I informed him that he was the one who made it quite apparent that I was not a member of the family. He became enraged and attempted to remove my phone from the table when I chose to ignore him. I pushed him back and urged him to leave the building. While he was walking to the door, he slapped the counter, and then he slammed it open behind him. The pressure is increasing, yet there is no apology or communication. In an attempt to give the impression that nothing was wrong, the family began sharing all of these cheerful family pictures on Facebook. I started receiving texts from strangers who turned out to be relatives I hardly knew. I was told by some that I needed to let go of it, while others told me that I was acting in the optimal manner. Everyone seemed to have taken a stance, and none seemed to have a clear understanding of what was actually taking place. If we are being completely honest, it is not even about the money or the fund. This is due to the fact that they believe they can delete me and then simply contact me whenever they require something particular. As if they want me to be invisible, except for when it is convenient for them to do so. I have finished with that. I will no longer serve as the backup plan. In an email that he sent out a week ago, Dad discussed the importance of family unity and how I was causing harm to everyone by dragging things out. He copied everyone on the message as if I were going to give in to the pressure. In my response, I reiterated the regulations of the fund in a straightforward manner. That evening, Philip sent me a text message in which he suggested that perhaps they ought to just find a way to get rid of me for forever. The problem is that they are unable to. All of that was insured by Grandma. Consequently, it is not yet over. At this point, I am not going to back down. Their goal was to remove me from the equation. The time has come for them to witness the actual appearance of that. They won't get away with it easily from me. The opposite is true. Currently, the next stage is in motion. When the next round begins, we will provide an update. Recent developments too. As a result, I seem to be back with yet another update. Who is NGL? At this point, things are the point at which they genuinely begin to get heated. When I'm in direct messages, people keep telling me things like, "Bro, you're so patient, I would have quit by now." To tell you the truth, I am not a patient person. Simply put, I have spent the most of my life being controlled by these individuals. I'm just going to. It is not. Consequently, after all of the exciting drama, it seems as though the entire family embarked on this campaign to portray me as the antagonist. Which is crazy because the only thing I'm doing is what Grandma wrote down in black and white. But sure, it's true. I am the one who is challenging. All of the family chats that I am still participating in, which are not very many at this point, consist of strange side comments and jokes about paperwork. I just sent back the fund regulation that my Aunt Bridget sent me via text message. It was a meme depicting a man who was drowning in papers. I don't know, it's a trivial matter. I am, however, to the point where I do not care anymore. It was when Philip called me at around 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning that I realized they were beginning to feel desperate. This is not a "hello how are you" card. It seemed more like he was prepared to negotiate. In the beginning, he is really nice and asks me whether I have seen this new movie. After that, he transitions into pertaining to the fund. For the sake of Dad's birthday vacation, would you be able to just let it go through this one time? I was told that if I don't, everyone is going to be angry with me. Send the documents to me, I instructed him. His first attempt was to laugh it off, but then he asked me if I was truly going to be that man. It's true, I am, I said. The emails will begin to arrive from my father the following week, with the exception that they will now copy literally everyone. One was all about the legacy of the family and not allowing petty grievances to drive a wedge between us. All of the responses were included in the spreadsheet, and I highlighted out the areas where they did not comply with the requirements. After that, I receive a lengthy wall of text from Philip, in which he claims that I am destroying everything in order to demonstrate a point. I explained to him that the point is that you can't treat me like garbage and still obtain what you want for yourself. He chose not to respond. The thing that I did was I became quite literal. Each and every expenditure had to be defended. The receipts for the ridiculous party decorating were sent to me by Jerry, as I demanded. My mother was the one who asked me for the dates and guest list for the family reunion brunch, which was nothing more than a cover for them to utilize the fund for a day at the spa. I began to disregard anything that did not adhere to the established norms. This is Grandma's rule, not hers. Every time, I made sure to copy the entire family. It was my intention to make it such that the only way for them to obtain the fund money was to adhere to each and every guideline. There is no exception. The attempt was made to circumvent it. I received a message from Bridget on Facebook, in which she suggested that we might be able to find a solution if I simply signed the documents. Selena attempted to instill guilt by expressing how stressed out her mother was and how I was making things more difficult for her. I stated that it was no longer my problem. In the event that they desired to participate in the game, I was going to give it my all. To tell you the truth, it's incredible how quickly things started coming apart. That big birthday trip, right? It has been cancelled. Nobody was willing to pay for it out of their own wallet. In the end, the reunion brunch was held in the backyard with pizza that was served cold. My father began calling all of my family to vent his frustrations about me, but some of them really came out to me and inquired about what was going on. I have just provided them the rules, and I have specified that I will be adhering to them. At Jerry's residence, there was a genuine moment in which things came dangerously close to becoming physical. The appearance of Philip, who attempted to corner me by the garage and threatened to go around me if I did not knock it off, was a surprise to me. I wished him the best of luck. Grandma made certain that no one could take precedence over me unless I deviated from the rules, which I did not do. He shoved me and then punched me in the face. He also called me a loser. I pushed him away from me. However, Jerry intervened and advised Philip to calm down, but this only served to make him more agitated. Suddenly, Philip stormed out of the house and banged the front door so forcefully that the dog began to bark. Additionally, the rest of the family began to exhibit signs of cracking. An argument sprang out between Bridget and Selena on who gets to use the fund for what, and I was not even present at the time. I just responded to a lengthy text message that my mother sent me about how members of the same family are meant to help one another. I said that I will support anyone who does not treat me as a problem that needs to be solved. She chose not to respond. I began to become aware of some things on social media. The posts for the family were becoming less pleasant and more filtered, giving the impression that they were just trying to force it for show. A number of people began sending me messages on the side, some of which inquired as to whether or not I was okay, while others advised me to just let it go. This is exactly what they wanted, and they wanted me to be removed from the picture. I kept reminding myself of this. Now they get it. In the full tale, the finest part is when Dad's old friend group started asking questions like, why is the family not going on the annual trip? How come there isn't a significant post this year? After my father made an attempt to place responsibility on me, I suppose news got around that I was only adhering to the ground rules. Grandma has departed. Some people started questioning him why he couldn't just get along with everyone else. As far as I can tell, this appeared to be the first occasion that the ideal family unit appeared to be a fabrication from the outside. At a certain point, Philip made an attempt to be covert. He filed a request for a compensation for an unexpected family emergency. Not a single detail, only generalities. I called him out and reminded everyone that they needed complete documentation. During the chat, he suddenly burst and accused me of destroying the family. After that, he exited the chat. In a tearful phone call, my mother told me that he was so stressed out that I was making matters even worse. After I informed her that they had made their decision, she hung up the phone. The point of no return was reached last night. Grandma called me for the first time in months, and she told me that she had seen what was going on. She also told me that she was pleased of me for adhering to my principles, and that she didn't want the fun to be wasted for nonsense anyhow. It was her opinion that if people were angry, it was their own problem. To be honest, I never imagined that she would actually say it, but I suppose that even she is sick of the act. No one is communicating with one another at this point. Everyone in the family is pointing the finger of blame at all other members of the family for the reasons why things are falling apart. There are no longer any group chats. Family gatherings are nothing more than awkward messes. Grandma is the only person who begs me to come, and even then, I make my presence brief. I am aware that there are some individuals who are going to argue that this is too much or that I ought to just go on, but the truth is that they intended to shut me out and treat me as if I were nothing. At this point, they are able to witness what nothing appears to be, and I have not even finished yet. When the last round arrives, we will provide an update. They have a negative opinion on something. Watch till they see what is going to happen. This is the final update. Okay, so here it is, shall we? This is the update that a lot of you required. To tell you the truth, I had no intention of things reaching this point, but I'm not going to pretend that I don't feel horrible about it either. That was my warning. The fact that they wanted to cut me out for real prompted me to give them exactly what they requested, but not in the manner that they had envisioned. To put that into perspective, it has been close to a whole year since the photo incident. Trust within the family became very difficult at that period of time, as I mentioned earlier. There will be no more freebies, with the exception of this one time. There will be no more pretending that I am nothing more than an obnoxious little brother who they can ignore until they have something that has to be signed. Every request has to be completely foolproof. Every expenditure was thoroughly examined. I started keeping a spreadsheet of every conversation and every transaction whenever they attempted to get past me. This was done in response to every tiny irregularity that I found. This is not because I am paranoid. Rather, it is because I was aware that at some point in time, someone will attempt to accuse me of being unjust or abusing power. I wanted everything to be in order. What is truly remarkable is the speed with which they began failing. Initially, it was nothing more than the typical series of guilt trips and, "Why can't you just help us out?" crap. After then, it evolved into threats that were not so subtle. As an example, Philip mentioned that he might discuss the possibility of changing the trust with his grandmother. Good luck, buddy. She is the one who devised this plan in order to prevent you from wasting all of your money on foolish Shasta risk tea. The father made an effort to act as if everything was beneath him, but Faith informed me that he has been raving to anybody who will listen about how I am causing the family to become more and more divided. I started showing folks the actual regulations, but nobody was believing it, especially after I started showing them the rules. The only thing I needed to do was send the documents and emphasize that these are Grandma's words and not mine. This is the point at which things really went nuclear. I receive a formal letter, yes, an actual letter, not an email, from my father and Philip, essentially asking that we have a family meeting to discuss how to address the matter. This letter arrives around the anniversary of the photo. A large number of my extended family members were copied on the message, as if they wanted to put me on the spot in front of everyone. Almost laughed out loud. I responded to everyone. Insisted that I would be pleased to explain everything, but there was one condition. In addition to having the opportunity to capture the entire event, we do it at Grandma's house with a present. They had no choice but to go along with that notion because Granny had already given her approval. A meeting was a complete and utter disaster. Everyone shows up, yet nobody acknowledges each other's presence. For now, Philip is putting on his "I'm the victim" face. Even though Dad is attempting to play the role of the peacekeeper, it is clear that he is eager to start yelling. While Faith is only scrolling through her phone, Bridget is whispering to Selena, which is located in the corner. They attempt to begin with a speech that is on the importance of family unity and putting the past in the past. I severed the connection. Said that if anyone is interested in discussing the trust, we would do it in accordance with the established protocol. I outlined the guidelines for the game. Once more. The emails were displayed. The printouts were displayed. I always had receipts with me whenever my father or Philip attempted to twist something. At each and every instance in which I was accused of being unreasonable, I referred back to the trust documents. At one point, Philip became so enraged that he reached up and slapped his hand on the table before standing up. Nevertheless, Granny quickly silenced him. "Lorenzo is not engaging in any inappropriate behavior," she just stated. "Put the blame on me if you don't like the standards." That was the very first time in my entire life that I witnessed Philip become completely silent. Dad made every effort to save it, but the room was already destroyed. Jerry stood up and walked away. After slamming her purse down on the table, Bridget declared that she was over with all of this drama. As she began to cry, Selena expressed her desire for things to return to their usual state. When Faith finally looked up from her phone, she added, "Perhaps you all ought to have considered that before you froze Lorenzo out." She didn't even ask me to ask her to say it. Just now, she did it. When that meeting was over, it was as if a switch had been flipped. No one gave a call. Nobody sent an SMS message. I went to my grandmother's house a few times simply to see how she was doing. She did little more than shake her head in disbelief at how ludicrous everything was. The fact that I did not back down was something that she praised me for. She stated that she was aware that this day would arrive. Because of this, she arranged things in the manner that she did. But this is when things become really interesting. Approximately 2 months after there had been no sound, it began. At first, it was a text message from my mother, asking if I could chat with Philip for a moment. Make an effort to achieve peace. It went unnoticed. After that, my father called. He left a voicemail in which he expressed his desire for things to not come to this conclusion and asked me to simply call him back. It wasn't me. After that, the floodgates were unlocked. He sent me a text message each and every day for a week. In a single day, Bridget sent me 3 emails with subject lines that included phrases like, "Urgent family crisis." Attempting to go through the motions of saying, "I miss you," Jerry even called and left a voicemail, which was a rambling one, saying that because we are family men, we can't continue in this manner. According to Grandma, they had also been calling her and wondering what it would take to convince me to return. Their phone had been blown up. She instructed them to clean up their own mess on their own. Now, this has been going on for several weeks. Each and every hour, I receive voicemails. Electronic mail. They are texts. The messages on Facebook. And even a message that my mother had written by hand and left at my door. Every single one of them expresses essentially the same belief. Could you please return? No matter what you want, we will do it. Simply consult with us. It is sometimes extremely pitiful. When it's angry, it might be. In certain cases, both are contained within the same message. Indeed, Philip made another appearance at my residence, this time pounding on the door. I instructed him to depart. Through the door, he raged at me, saying that I was being self-centered, that my family required my presence. I chose not to respond. Some people may tell me that I ought to be the more mature person, but in all honesty, why should I be? For years, these individuals made me feel as though I did not belong in this community. As if I were something that needed to be concealed. I am suddenly the most important person in the world, and the moment they needed me to mend what they had broken, I became that person immediately. They no longer rely on me as their backup plan. I am not the scapegoat for them. I followed through with what I had promised to do. I made certain that they would feel sorrow for excluding me, and they do. For each and every day. The fact that I don't even desire anything is the most hilarious aspect. Their apologies are not necessary for me. This is a lie made by them. In any of it, the last thing I want is to be involved again. Today, there is a sense of calmness in the air. If you don't have to cope with all of their mistakes. Grandma is still visible to me on occasion. On the other hand, we don't talk about the turmoil in the family. She expressed her satisfaction that I had finally taken a stand for myself. Truly, I am the same way. Therefore, that is the current state of affairs. These people keep calling. On and on you beg. Still, I'm not going to pick up. Not going to return. Were they looking for a family without me? That is the case. Let's wait and see how the next shot turns out once we take it. This concludes the update. I would like to express my gratitude to everyone who took the time to read all of this and point out the errors alongside me. Believe me if you ever find yourself in the same situation. There are times when the only way to construct something higher and greater for yourself is to pull it down. And no, I do not feel any sorrow about it. In no way, shape, or form.